is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Kat and I are continuing the small mini-series for Detective Season 1, or Detective a Modern Crime Board Game Season 1, which means that they're going to do more seasons.
Season 2?
Season 17. What's the longest running? I guess it would have to be one of the Criminal Minds, right? Like, to have the longest seasons. I guess The Simpsons is on, like, season 30-something.
But if you're, like the longest running crime show...
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be like NCIS or whatever other one.
I don't know. I don't like NCIS that much.
I don't like any of those shows, yeah. What is the longest running crime show? Let's see. Wish it would have just told me. Okay, so, Law and Order Special Victims Units has 21 seasons.
Oh my God.
It's literally the second longest running TV show, like, in general. Right after The Simpsons at 32. Wow.
I forgot all about Law and Order.
Yeah, and then Family Guy's at 19. Lassie had 19, but it was last aired in 1971. So, American Dad's on 17. NCIS would be, if we're talking about present, NCIS is at 17.
Yeah.
So.
Why'd you say American Dad?
Well, I'm just looking at all the shows. I mentioned The Simpsons, too.
Oh.
And Family Guy, so you just didn't listen.
I didn't hear Family Guy.
Is Supernatural still going?
God! Oh, is it?
No, I thought they quit.
It's not that good of a show.
No, it's not.
Unpopular opinion.
Although all the kind of longest running ones, yeah, Law and Order is at 21, like I said. NCIS at 17. Then there is NCIS Los Angeles at 11.
I also don't like it when they split it up into it's like, oh, well, now we branch off to a completely different, like C.
Anyway.
S.I.
So, we are on Case 2, I almost said Season 2. Case 2, Blood, Ink, and Tears. This one's going to be interesting, and I'll tell you why.
Because
after
it's
I
about
read
a
this.
tattoo artist who tattooed so many people that she died.
No, what? October 11th, 2019, somewhere in Great Britain. The walls of the venerable residence creak with every strong gust of wind. Initially, an official dinner in this antique mansion seemed promising, but the social atmosphere is so stifling you would rather be anywhere else. You've already managed to use the wrong cutlery at least 3 times and nearly spilled your wine on the snow-white tablecloth. You wouldn't be here if your boss had been able to attend. Unfortunately, your host has deemed you a worthy substitute. Ben Hampton was a good friend of the former chief constable of your police force. Since the latter's death, he has invited a representative of the force to one of his parties every year. It would have been a shame to miss a year, even if it meant a several-hour drive for you to get there. The manor house is completely isolated, surrounded by dense forests and swampland. If that weren't enough, the raging storm has closed the roads leading away from the estate, so no guest can leave before morning. At least there's free food.
And death.
After a countless number of courses and desserts, the household staff informs you that it's time for the highlight of the evening. You're escorted to the study where Ben Hampton, a passionate historian, is preparing to read from a selection of old family documents. How wonderful. Let's read about my family. You see, we were all slave owners.
I just like
That's it. It's like, what?
The wording of documents where it's like,
Erectile dysfunction, brain hemorrhaging, and aggressive, oh man, what do they call it, where the families fuck each other?
Oh no. Incest.
Yep, and aggressive incest. That's my family! And you're just like, oh man, this food's not worth it. Hampton is a man in his 70s, but he still enjoys good health and appears to be the most lively person in the room. When he stands up, all conversation cease. He removes a key from his pocket, leaves for a few minutes, then comes back holding a large, time-worn envelope. He raises it so that all gathered may see. The tomb! Or no, yeah, that's right.
These 3... No, 10. These 11...
10!
These 10 commandments.
We gather here as we do every year on the anniversary of my father's death, who, like his father before him, wanted the history of our family to be remembered. He says, pausing briefly to allow the wan applause to die off. Let us therefore remember the glory days of this old manor. Some guests yawn furtively. Your boss warned you that this evening would not be entertaining. Every year, Ben Hampton presents historic family documents from his archives, which are of no interest to anyone but himself. Hampton stands next to the fireplace, pours wine into an antique chalice, puts it on a small table next to the armchair, and carefully opens the old envelope. He touches the title page, entranced by the occasion. Deed of ownership from the year 1830. It's like, oh god!
Wait, it was 1830 what?
1834. Deed of ownership. Written by Albert Hampton. He licks his finger and turns the page. Conservator Lorraine Doomstick, a woman in her 40s, makes a sound just short of a gasp, seeing such careless handling of an historical artifact. In the name of, he says, loosening the collar of his shirt.
Oh no.
Please excuse me. In the name of... The documents slip from his hands and fall slowly to the expensive Persian rug.
Into the fire, never to be seen again.
Good heavens, Ben! Cries Beatrice Hampton, his wife, as she rushes towards him. Hampton falls heavily to the floor, clearly suffocating, his bulging, unseeing eyes staring up towards the ceiling. The butler rushes to the phone to call an ambulance. A man you know to be the head of Hampton's personal security detail appears at the door, looking as if he had just awoken from a nap. Ben's son, John Hampton, seems to be the only person in the room who hasn't lost their composure. Lorraine Doomstick, the only person besides yourself who isn't part of the household, sits motionless, her hands covering her mouth. They are cursed! Ben splutters, clutching the envelope in his hand. Ben, this is hardly the time for humor, cries Beatrice, shaking his arm. You try to provide emergency assistance to your host, but everything happens so quickly. Before you are out of your chair, Hampton coughs a final time and slumps over. There is a moment of stony silence, broken only by Beatrice's quiet laughter. Everyone is frozen. No, it sobs.
Is she evil?
Everyone is frozen in shock, staring at Ben's dead body, hoping that this dramatic display is simply a joke in poor taste to enliven the evening. Finally, Beatrice's sister Angela speaks. It's not possible, she says, her voice trembling. Don't touch the documents, or his hands. Angela's right, John says. Curse or no curse, it would be better not to get too close to those papers. He kicks the documents away from his father's body. A few pages end up in the lit fireplace. No! The deed!
Who will own it now?
You and Miss Doomstick back out to the corridor. You want to give the family their privacy, but before you leave, you put on a latex glove and retrieve the library key from Ben Hampton's pocket.
You steal.
Yeah, you steal. It seems that your short holiday is over. You try to use your phone, but you're unable to get a signal. Uh-oh. You sigh and take your notebook out of your pocket. Your instinct and common sense suggest to you that something is terribly wrong here. Did someone want Ben Hampton dead? And if so, why? So, we need to determine whether Ben Hampton was murdered, and if so, by whom, and what was the motive. What's cool about this is that this case takes place in an English manner, and we will not move from location to location.
Cool.
So we are in this house. This is...
very Nancy Drew-y.
Right, or,
Or the Hardy Boys, you're right.
I was going to say, or that movie, that shitty Ryan Johnson, Knives Out.
That wasn't shitty. Oh,
No,
said
Ryan Johnson.
I was like, I like that movie.
Okay, so we, we don't have any of those extra tokens. We only have 14 hours to figure it out.
Okay.
And each card takes an hour. So essentially we will get 14 cards.
14 goes at it.
All right, so case setup. We get to read files. We get portrait number 10. So, ooh, it's old drawings.
Our dead man. Is it just possible that he aspirated on spit and died?
No.
He's old.
Man, that's probably... Okay, so we read at file 200. So, such. We've spotted a few typos in this case. Oh, you fuckers. Okay. In the further lead section, please consider the following changes. So talk to Ben's family is 204, not 104. Talk to staff and guests is 208, not 108. And talk to the chief of security should lead to 211, not 111. Okay. In addition, please consider following changes for the cards. Okay, 222 and 223. Okay, prepare your notebooks and pencils, get some good coffee, and get to work. On behalf of the authors of this game, best of luck. All right, so we can talk to Ben's family, we can talk to the staff and guests, and we can talk to the chief of security.
Let's talk to the chief of security about piece of shit, because it sounds like he was sleeping on the job.
Okay. So that is going to be 211, not 111.
Okay.
You got the whole other world in your hands.
What song is that?
It's from a stupid ad. The Hamptons Estate Chief of Security, Martin Wesley, leads you to his office. Unfortunately, there is a power outage, so you will be unable to see the security camera footage until it is restored. Oh, go figure.
Of course there's a power outage in a spooky-ass manner.
Perhaps the butler knows something. He always had his ear to the ground, Martin tells you, pointing an electric torch at the floor plan of the mansion. On the ground floor, there are utility rooms, kitchen, the staff room, the dining room, the parlor, the front room, the smoking room, and guest rooms. On the first floor, there are the Hamptons' bedroom, Mr. Hampton's study, his library, and an entrance to the attic. Access to this floor is restricted to Mr. and Mrs. Hampton because bollocks! One of the maids is standing at the door holding a tray with a plate of biscuits and a teapot. If they want to keep that floor private, they had better advise their guests. I constantly have to warn people off that floor, she says. Mr. John is frequently there. The conservator that arrived the day before last was there, claiming she wanted to see the entire house. 4 days ago, I had to chase off a strange man who wanted me to believe he had been sent to look at the decayed beams in the attic. He claimed the rats might have eaten through them. What nonsense. If there's one person I haven't seen up there, it's you, Martin. She turns her anger towards the chief of security, whose face is a deep red. If you were to do what you were paid to do, instead of sleeping away the day, I wouldn't have to do your job in addition to mine. She puts the tray down abruptly and leaves the room, muttering under her breath. Martin looks abashed. About that, conservator, he says, scratching his balding head. She was in this office yesterday. She burst in without knocking and demanded the key to the library. When I told her that Mr. Hampton had the only key, she was furious. Is the library always locked? Always. No one but Mr. Hampton had a key. Neither I nor the butler had access. Who did this conservator think she was to demand that right? Particularly in the light of what I had seen earlier that day on the CCTV, Mr. Hampton clearly barred her entry to the library. The nerve of that woman. Was there not a sufficient number of antique things in the other parts of this house to keep her occupied? Whew, that was a lot.
It is also conservator.
Is it? It's conservator.
Could be.
Yeah, exactly. So why would you try to correct me?
No, I'm just saying that.
Okay.
It's true.
So we do have further leads. We can ask the butler about recent suspicious incidents. So let's try to wrap our brain around this one.
I mean, if there's anyone who knows anything, it is the staff.
Right, exactly. That's why I think we need to talk to the staff and the guests and just kind of figure out who's saying what.
I think staff is most important.
Okay.
Because they live there.
On the other sheet, do you want to write staff and we'll keep notes on that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, do that before it gets off.
I already wrote down Martin Wesley. Well, how about this is my staff sheet?
Fine.
I already wrote down Mr. Wesley on there. Martin Wesley.
Martin Wesley. Okay, so it looks like that. Let's see. Miss Hampton's study. Okay, on the ground floor. Okay, so that basically the layout probably means nothing.
He just kind of gives you like well, that's that. Yeah, that was just the introduction to be like. That lady was like, I'm always chasing people off.
They'd better advise their guests. I constantly have to warn people off that floor. Mr. John is frequently there. The conservator that arrived the day before last was there, claiming she wanted to see the entire house. And then there's a strange man who wanted to look in the attic. And so Martin's the only one who doesn't go up there. So,
because he's not doing his job.
Right. About that conservator... She was in this office yesterday, burst in without knocking, and demanded the key. So, okay. So the conservator wants the key, and Mr. John is constantly, I guess, upstairs in the study. Yeah, upstairs is the study, the library, and the attic. So, this is all locked. All right. So, that was that. Do we want to talk to the butler or just go straight to the staff?
The butler is staff, isn't he?
Well, I guess, but it's a different card.
Gotcha.
The staff and guests.
The butler.
Okay.
Because he's the one who always does it. So can I get off my blanket?
Okay. You ask the butler.
Did you do it?
Mr. Platt for a private chat. Ooh. He is busy, much like the rest of the devastated household staff, but he drops what he's doing and leads you to one of the utility rooms. You kiss a little. Okay. I'll wait till you're done writing.
I'm just writing the butler.
Okay. We've been so absorbed by the preparations for this evening that we had very little time to look into every recent odd incident, but I do remember that a few days ago an antique shotgun disappeared from the parlor. Perhaps the conservator has taken it somewhere to examine it, or Mr. Hampton has arranged for its exhibition. He really should have informed me if that was the case, but he was quite forgetful. What was the date for this one? October 11th, okay. October 4th, we threw a modest birthday celebration for Miss Hampton. It was very private. The only guests were the young Mr. Hampton and Mrs. Kemet. I recall that at one point that evening the fire alarm was raised. Miss Hampton panicked because while everyone else in the family had evacuated the manor, Mr. Hampton was still in the library, absorbed in his reading. We nearly had to force him out in the end. The younger Mr. Hampton bravely returned for the dog. That old mongrel was nearly too fat to move and deaf. I believe young Mr. Hampton is the only person strong enough to pick him up. Thankfully, it was a false alarm and no one was hurt. The door to the smoking room may not have been closed properly. Okay, so... yeah, alright, so let's digest this. So there is... who else was it? Okay, so there was a birthday party with a missing shotgun. Oh no, there was a missing shotgun, and then they threw a party where a fire alarm was raised. So, and then Mr. Hampton, is that the old guy?
Old Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, old Mr. Hampton was reading, and then younger Mr. Hampton, he went back into the house for the dog.
Which what I gleaned from that is they said that he is strong. That's what I took from that specifically, is that he's strong, so that, I don't know.
Right.
Come up later.
Right. Okay. 2 or 3 days later, a suspicious individual was caught trespassing in the manor. He introduced himself as someone who had been hired to repair some wooden beams in the attic. The estate is a historic property, and we sometimes get overzealous visitors. Speaking of strange visitors, someone called a few days ago about mowing the estate lawn. He asked when Mr. Hampton strolled around the lawn, as he did not want to run him over with the mower. It was absurd. We had our own gardener and do not commission outsiders to perform yard maintenance. I expect that there was a bored rascal with too much time on their hands. I informed Mr. Hampton about all these events, but since Mrs. Hampton took ill, he has left the management of such trivial issues to the chief of security. The only thing able to relieve his misery has been the thought of tonight's yearly celebration. I hope that Miss Hampton will live at least long enough to witness the birth of their first grandchild. John and his fiancée are expecting the baby in a few months.
His fiancée?
Yep.
They're not even married?
Nope, guess not. Guess they're just horrible, horrible human beings.
Ashamed.
Okay. What the hell is that drawing? Ew-wee! It looks like a penis from over here. Is that Mr. Poopy
I forgot his hat, yeah. Yes, I'm Detective Poopy Butthole.
Gotcha. Alright. I can smell Siri.
Siri, I smell your asshole.
Come on.
Oh, jeez. No, Kai is not out there.
Yeah.
You're gonna let him out in the yard?
Yeah.
Conservator.
Here's the definition of conservator.
It's conservator. I just wanted to know. But wait, what is it?
God damn. It like lingers.
Do you have to? Do you have to? Do you have to let it linger?
Alright, so... yeah.
So they get a lot of trespassers trying to look inside the house and
right,
go roam around.
Okay, so
still interesting that the antique shotgun is missing.
And then
Someone could have stolen it to sell it or something, because obviously he didn't get shot with a shotgun, so it's not.
Right.
Or they took the antique bullets out of there and made a lead poison.
Yeah, basically we're gonna have to find out if anyone had anything from him, like to gain from his death.
His will.
Right.
Something in the library.
So, I guess the next two should be talk to the staff and guests and talk to Ben's family.
Yeah.
See if anyone's like, I'm glad he's dead, or it's like,
I always hated that old man.
So we're on the roll for the staff. So let's just continue doing the staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
We kiss Mr. Platt goodbye.
Goodbye. The 7 minutes in the closet was great. I finished immediately. All right.
The other 6 minutes were kind of you to just let me talk.
Right. In the staff quarters, the silence is upset only by the heavy rain rumbling against the old windows. The phone lines are down, the butler sighs, putting down the phone. I haven't seen such a storm in 20 years. Besides, who is there to call? Mr. Hampton is beyond medical help. Today's the anniversary of Hampton's father's death, the chauffeur adds, dabbing at his eyes with a sleeve. The family really must be cursed. Was he poisoned? One of the maids asks in a dramatic whisper. Everyone turns to look at the cook. What's this? The elderly woman snaps. You ungrateful scoundrels! I've been in that kitchen for 50 years. No one has gotten so much as an upset stomach in all that time.
Except for that one time.
I think that conservator, Lorraine Doomstick, has something suspicious about her.
Oh, that's okay. She's the conservator.
Lorraine Doomstick! I mean, her last name is Doomstick, a little on the nose. Lorraine Lorraine Murderer Doomstick. Before she can elaborate, the door opens and a slim man in his 20s, wearing a long duster and a flat cap, enters. He leans nonchalantly against the doorframe. Everyone stares at him curiously. Well, let's analyze the facts in a rational fashion, he says after a dramatic pause. You exchange confused looks with the rest of those assembled. Okay. I think I know you, the maid says. The man turns slowly to show off his profile. Yes, you've probably seen me before, he smiles mysteriously and approaches to shake your hand. Sam Collins, actor. You will soon all know me as Detective Daniel Everley in the Rebellious Detective series. No, the maid. There was a fellow who came here a few days ago, said someone. Had sent him to repair beams in the attic. He looked just like you, very slim, but he had a funny mustache and a checked shirt. The door opens once again. This time, it is a man in a soaked gardener's uniform holding a bag in his hand. I found a stranger nosing about the grounds. I thought it might be a burglar, so I seized him and locked him in the shed. Ignoring the maid's disgusted stare, the gardener throws a muddy bag on the ground. He had this with him. You won't believe what's inside. Curiously, you peek into the bag. It contains photography gear, an expired press ID badge for Ronald Timber, and printouts from an internet forum with detailed instructions on how to cut an automobile's brake line.
Oh, Jesus.
From the murmured reactions of the staff, you understand that this is not their first run-in with Ronald Timber. Okay, so we gained portrait 14. Okay, I'm guessing that's the guy. That's the actor.
Those are instructions you gotta memorize and not print out and keep with you.
What?
The instructions.
Oh, right.
So you gotta study that up because.
All right, so then we add 47324 to the database. So I'm guessing this is like the description would be what photography gear. I'm just gonna put Ronald Timber. Shit.
Ronald Timber was in the bag.
Yep. Alright, so then we add... Alright. Oh, okay. Never mind. I guess I didn't have to put a description. Instructions for cutting brake lines printed from an internet forum. Okay. Alright, so. Whew. Now, we... Okay, so there was a guy... So the actor... The maid is saying that there was someone that looked just like him stalking, trying to get up into the attic. Mm-hmm. So people are trying to get into the house to find something, and apparently cut brake lines. And then let's see. And then there's a Ronald Timber is locked in the shed, so we can talk to Lorraine Doomstick, Sam Collins, and Ronald Timber. Those are options we have. So that's all from the staff and then guests at this party. Family?
Yeah.
And then, so that's going to be 204. The family of the deceased is still in shock, but you know that your chances of determining the cause of his death grow fainter with every minute that passes. Beatrice Hampton, Ben's wife, and her sister, Angelina Kemet, are seated near the fireplace. John Hampton, his son, is pacing around the room. The butler informs everyone that no calls can be made. The storm has cut off all contact with the outside world. Besides, the nearest hospital is many hours from the remote estate. The only thing to do in this situation is to wait until morning and hope the weather improves. First my Arthur, and now poor Ben, Angela sobs, putting her hand on Beatrice's shoulder. I won't be long for this world either, Beatrice answers, surprisingly calm for someone who had just witnessed her husband's agonizing death. John Hampton attempts for the umpteenth time to get a signal on his cell phone. He bursts into grim laughter. Perhaps these documents truly are cursed. John, stop your nonsense, Beatrice snaps. This is not the time for those idiotic stories. John sits on the ottoman next to the fireplace and stares into the flames. The only thing that brings me any comfort is that at least he will be spared the sight of your dying. John, this is hardly the time to bring up your mother's condition, Angela tells him. Pardon me, if I may, you interrupt timidly, but no one pays you any mind. I would ask you, dear aunt, to please stop interfering in our private affairs. You haven't given us one moment's peace since Uncle Arthur's death. I'm sure you couldn't wait for my father to die as well, John asks, enraged. Oh. Stop this, both of you, Beatrice shouts. Have some respect for the circumstances, if not for each other. She falls into the armchair. The ever-attentive butler puts a cup of lemon balm tea on the table next to her. The press will have a field day with this, she continues weakly. I can already see the headlines. Mystery death at Hampton's health. They'll make horrible insinuations and wonder who will receive the inheritance. There it is. I'm certain he would rather have taken it all with him to the grave, John mutters. How can you talk about money now? Angela asks. John turns to her abruptly. How dare you pretend that you don't care about the inheritance? Uncle Arthur's fortune will hardly be sufficient to provide for your retirement. Angela's face is contorted with anger. John, that is quite enough, his mother scolds. You feel like you've had enough as well. You interrupt again, louder this time. I would kindly request that you talk to me one-on-one before your recriminations escalate any further. Gladly, John answers. It is clear from their furious faces that all agree. They each leave by a different door, doing their best to avoid looking at each other. So we get portraits 8, 9, and 11. Oh, I think... Oh, I got two of the same. I got misprints. I don't have a 10. Okay, so it looks like... God, okay. Don't know who's who, but...
well, the sick one is probably...
Oh, yeah, okay. And then there's John. Okay, so that's the father. That's the actor. That's the son, sister, and then mother. Alright, so we can talk to a lot of people there. John, Beatrice, Angelina, and then the butler. But we already talked to the butler. So we don't have to talk to the butler.
Talk to him again.
Okay. So
there's some family fighting.
Well, of course they don't like each other. They're all rich and old. Okay, I'm going to have to keep notes as well. Alright, so we have Angela. No. Yeah. Yeah, Angela, right? That's the sister. Yeah, Angelina. So Angelina is the sister to Hampton. To the.
She looks like she's the sister of.
Beatrice Hampton, Ben's wife, and her sister. So she's the sister of Beatrice.
She doesn't have the Hampton name.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, Kamet. Beatrice's sister. Then we have John Hampton.
Who is the son?
Yep. Who is Hampton's son. And then we have the Beatrice, who is Hampton's wife, who is sick. Okay, so we have Angelina and John don't get along.
Mm-hmm.
So
sounds like Angelina doesn't get along with any of them.
She got along with her sister.
I don't know. Her sister sounded kind of snappy towards her too.
Did she? I didn't catch that at all.
Maybe it's a girl thing.
Yeah, probably is. You probably read too much into it. They don't get along, and John accused her of only wanting the inheritance.
Because he was like, oh, don't pretend you're not interested in it.
Right. Beatrice.
Even though it's like, if you're the sister-in-law, like, I wouldn't give you anything.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Beatrice, she's concerned about the press
Mm-hmm.
digging into the family. Digging into the family.
In my other notes, I spelled anytime with 2 N's, and I was like,
Nice. John, he's a very macabre person. Like, he's just like, oh man, I mean, yeah, all of this is very much reminding me of Knives Out.
I know.
John is kind of reminding me of Chris Evans. What was his name?
Something stupid.
It was something stupid.
River Weekend or something. It was something weird. Tuesday.
Oh, I feel like that's actually kind of close.
It was,
Knives Out, I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, because it's like Whiplash or something.
Whiplash.
Ransom. Anyway, yeah, so John, yeah, he just seems like, yeah, nonchalant about the whole situation.
It seems like a Gen Z to me.
Nonchalant and, let's see. I mean, he doesn't really care about his mom's death.
Like, I think he does. I think it was just an insensitive way to say it because, like, I mean, truly, it's like, well, Dad was very worried about you. So now he doesn't have to watch his wife pass away. Unfortunately, you have to watch your husband die, but...
Yeah, I guess. And might care about Mother.
And maybe... I mean, I don't know. I get where he's coming from.
Yeah, and then what else? Taking on with him to the grave. John mutters, how could you talk about money now? Yeah, so who would receive the inheritance? John's like, oh, he probably would have not wanted anyone to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't think anyone is getting inheritance. Okay. Alright, so those were the 3. We already talked to the butler. You're taking notes on the staff. Okay. Well, those are those 3 leads. So now it's pretty much just talk to the family. Talk to the family and the staff. Who do you think should go first?
Let's go back to the staff.
See if they saw anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have... Actually, sorry, it's not even the staff anymore. It's Lorraine Doomstick, the conservator. Sam Collins is the actor.
Oh.
And Ronald Timber is the guy in the shed.
Let's talk to the conservator.
Okay. So... that is... I need to just keep up this file just so I don't mess up one. Okay. So that's going to be 217. What's a conservator anyway?
Oh, I just read it. They're in charge of something.
But I'll find it before you.
No, the conservator.
Dang it.
A person responsible for the repair and preservation of works of art, buildings, or other things of cultural, environmental interests. Zelda, you okay?
Okay.
A guardian or protector.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh. In some cases, like if my mom were to become very elderly and not make her own decisions, I would be her conservator if she was to want that. So I would take care of her. I told you.
I said conservator. You're like, it's conservator.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
I was saying conservator.
You were saying conservator.
No, I wasn't.
At the beginning.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't.
You lying slut.
You slut. And then I said, it's conservator.
I don't believe you. You sit alone in the small parlor waiting for Lorraine Doomstick to appear. A few minutes pass before the tall, slim woman in her 40s enters the door. Her blonde hair is pinned up neatly and her makeup has been reapplied. What an evening, she sighs and sits down opposite you. Poor Mrs. Hampton. I've known her and her husband for only a few days, but I could tell immediately that they had a wonderful marriage. She has a heart condition, and I've heard that the doctors are not giving her long to live. I'm sure they both expected that she would be first to leave this world. As a moment of awkward silence, she seems to pull herself together. Please forgive my indelicacy. This is no place for idle gossip. She shakes your hand. I'm Lorraine Doomstick, a conservator with the Heritage Trust. Mr. Hampton has invited me to view and evaluate the estate and was kind enough to invite me to this calamitous dinner party. She leans forward. I heard that I got the seat of young Mr. Hampton's fiancée, whom old Mr. Hampton did not invite. They do not get along. Mr. Hampton forbid them from marrying and was none too pleased when he had discovered she was pregnant. Aha! She covers her mouth with her hand. Okay, so that's interesting. So, yeah, so I'll take notes on the family, you take notes on the guests and staff. Interesting. Ew. So, that's interesting. So, John... Okay. John might have a grudge due to Mr. Hampton not liking his fiancée.
Yeah.
And was none too pleased when discovered she was pregnant.
Maybe he was gonna write him out of the will.
Everyone's getting written out
God,
of the
this
will.
really is Knives Out.
Yeah, I know, right? Discovered she was pregnant. We need to find that will.
Mm-hmm. If there even is one.
Yep.
What did she say she was there for?
To basically evaluate the house. Yeah, evaluate the estate. I'm sorry, I'm gossiping again. In any event, I'm just relieved that the murderer has already been caught. What do you mean? Lorraine looks at you uncomprehendingly. I was led to understand that the staff had apprehended Ronald Timber. There was bad blood between Ben Hampton and him. 4 years ago, Timber paid someone on the staff to steal Ben's private journals for him. It backfired and cost Ronald Timber his career. I've heard that Ben kept his journals in his library. I'm sure we could find something interesting there if we looked, provided that is now accessible, of course. I've seen nearly every inch of this house except the library and the master bedroom. Mr. Hampton allowed no one to enter his library, and Miss Hampton forbade anyone other than her husband to enter the bedroom. I respect their right to privacy, but I've heard about the priceless paintings they keep on their bedroom walls. The Hamptons really are a very mysterious family. And then we get thing 2. Ooh, oh damn, she's hot.
That's the conservator?
Yeah.
Wow.
I
thought she was
that
some
ass.
old lady.
Nope, she's in her 40s. Interesting.
Old.
Yeah, a little too old. Interesting. So, Mr. Hampton and Ronald Timber did not get along. It's basically Timber paid someone on the staff to steal. Okay, I'll let you write that one out. Okay, because Ronald Timber is now in the shed, and he's the one who had, Ronald Timber, press ID badge and printouts for an internet forum with detailed instructions on how to cut an automobile's brake line. Well, that makes sense now why he he wants to kill him. Because if he got caught and it
ended his
career, yeah. Yep. All right, so now we have some more leads. I forgot to move that.
What if the priceless paintings in their bedroom is just like the weird paintings that like Jeffrey Epstein had of Bill Clinton in a dress, like just weird stuff?
It might be. So we can examine the master bedroom and read Ben Hampton's journals.
Let's read his journals.
Hold on, let's talk to everyone first. See what they have to say. So out of the 3, well, let's go back and forth. So out of the family, who would be the most interesting to talk to? John, Beatrice, or...
Oh, definitely John.
John? Okay.
Yeah. If this is going, like, in a direction where maybe he wanted the inheritance for him and his soon-to-be wife and newborn.
Right. Okay. You meet John Hampton in a small wooded paneled smoking room. This is the only spot in the house where I can have some privacy, he says, closing the door behind you. Sometimes it's good to be the only smoker in the family. The son of Ben Hampton is a tall, broad-shouldered man in his 40s, with dark circles under his eyes and graying hair. He sits in a leather armchair with a groan. I apologize for the delay, he says, but this idiot Collins wanted to interrogate me about the so-called murder of my father. He's an actor, here to consult with my father on an absurd TV series. He takes his role a bit too seriously, if you ask me. Anyway, don't mind him. John offers you a cigarette, then lights his with an expensive lighter. He stares for a few minutes at the family portrait on the wall. Angelina has often complained that the only picture of her in this estate hangs in the smoking room. She pretends to make light of it, but I know that she would have given anything to be an accepted part of the household. Anyway, she should be grateful for the one portrait. You won't find a photo of my fiancé anywhere in this manner, not even in photo albums. Okay, so... Many years ago, after a bit too much brandy, I had a nasty argument with my father, John says at last. He told me that when he dies, my share of the inheritance would be given to Angelina. He didn't remember saying it the next day, but I know Angelina heard him. Her husband died recently, leaving her alone and penniless. Not that she was sad he died, mind you. She'd lived with us ever since. I think that father and I were close to reconciling. Angelina must have known that and must have been worried that he would reinstate me in his will, but that not that he had ever removed me in the first place. I think she must have felt that our reconciliation would threaten her place in this household and her financial future. You believe that your aunt murdered your father, you ask? Either Angelina hastened his departure from this world, or the family legend about the poisoned papers is true. What is the family legend, precisely? It's an old story, John waves dismissively, and I'm a bit tired of telling it. I gave an interview to Odd Stories and Phenomenons magazine on the topic. He adds with some measure of pride. I believe you can find the issue in question in the library if you're interested.
Well, we're not allowed to go in the library.
Damn.
Because we took the key, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the papers are poisoned?
That's the legend.
But it's like, we've been reading them every year.
Yeah, I don't know. So, let's see.
I don't know, this family sounds like a real fucking drag.
Right. Anyway, I'm just gonna walk in the storm. I'll figure it out.
I'll come get my car tomorrow, don't worry.
Right. Okay, so, man, that was a lot. Okay, so Angelina... keep separate. Angelina might be receiving John's inheritance, but John and his father were about to reconcile, and he believes that Angela led to Hampton's death out of fear that she wouldn't receive the money.
The money.
I wanted the money. All right. So we can ask about Angelina's husband, which I don't really care about, or we can read John's interview about the family legend. So, put all the extra stuff we can do, like, over here. So, that's all the extra. This is still...
I'm sure we should probably ask about the husband, because I'm sure we're going to be like, that's not important, and then...
Well, we only have 14 total.
I know,
things.
I'm just saying that we didn't think the painting was important in the other one.
But we found that out, like, way later.
Yeah, we could get ahead of it.
So who would... Ben Hampton's journals would be really nice.
Yeah. I'd like to know more about the family legend.
Okay.
It just
Sam
sounds...
Collins is just an actor. And then Ronald Timber, that just sounds more of like I was trying to kill him. He ruined my career.
I'm just a reporter, hey?
And like Sam Collins and Ronald Timber weren't allowed in the house. So, like...
I think Sam Collins was allowed in the house.
Well, I meant like whenever they were just randomly showing up trying to, get up to the attic or fuck with stuff.
Oh, yeah, they weren't allowed, like, to...
Because where'd he go to get the paper? Oh, it's not in here, it's in here. So...
The library.
Was it?
Because he used the key. That's what I thought I heard.
Let's see. Anything? Oh, it just says removes the key from his pocket and leaves for a few minutes. So I guess we don't know where he went to get it.
Gotcha. I assume it's the library key because he's the only one that ever went in there.
True.
So I guess I was just kind
of...
putting two and two together.
So I think...
There could be like a saver. I don't know.
And then the only other person that I think family-wise that would be interesting to talk to is his wife. But I don't know what she would give in terms of suspicion. Luckily, there's not like a swath of family, like a Knives Out, where there's like 10 people. It's like here it seems to just be the 3, Beatrice, Angelina,
plus a
and
housekeeper.
John. Well, and then a few of the staff, but yeah.
So
And
lay
then
out
some
the
guess.
lay out the options again.
So we can examine the master bedroom.
Okay.
We can read Ben Hampton's journals, and Ben Hampton is the one who died.
I know.
Okay. We can ask about Angelina's husband, or we can read John's interview about the family legend. In terms of people to talk to, we can still talk to Sam Collins, the actor, Ronald Timber, the guy in the shed,
Yeah.
Beatrice Hampton, the wife, or Angelina Kemet, the sister. And that's it, because we did those 3.
Yeah. I mean, yes, they're all viable leads.
I think the journal might give us more information of who to maybe go and talk to.
Possibly. I was gonna lean towards reading one of those.
Okay. Do we want to do the journal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like a very important part, so I would.
All right. The centerpiece of the library is an antique writing desk with lockable drawers. A quick pull on the drawer knob reveals that it is not locked. Inside you find elegant, neatly organized journals. Each one has a year engraved on the spine. You are startled by the butler, who seems unhappy to find you going through his employer's private journals. Some of the journals were stolen 4 years ago, but they were returned soon after. A former employee snuck them off the estate and provided them to the journalist Ronald Timber. The employee was caught with the journals when he tried to return them. Unfortunately, Timber had already made copies. Some of the pages are marked with red sticky notes. One of them reads, December 10th, 2015. Ronald Timber is spreading falsehoods in the tabloids. Ensure that he is blacklisted from all UK media. Okay, so we got... Alright. So then, January 15th, 1976... H was caught trying to force her way onto the estate once again, though I've made it more than clear that she is not welcome here. She brought her daughter with her this time. The child is not yet 2, and she already has her mother's luxuriant blonde hair. She is trying to extort money from herself and her child. I've refused to capitulate to her demands and reminded her that I had the best barristers in the country. My reputation has already suffered enough. I have matured sufficiently to realize that Beatrice is the woman of my life. I want nothing more to do with H. Ooh, shit! So
he's a daddy to someone
Ben
else.
Hampton
Is a player.
gets that puss!
Gets the sniz on the reg.
Okay, so H. Okay.
H. Holmes.
So, Ben Hampton, let's see, has an illegitimate, I spelled that wrong. Illegitimate.
Makes you feel
There we go,
better.
got it.
I was like,
Has
I don't know.
a child with someone
He called
named H, and a
H for Harriet.
H, and she is trying to extort money from the family. Now, when was the year? Oh, this was in, 2019?
18, I think this one was.
Nope, 2019. The problem with this is that this was in 1976, so
Oh.
that's when the journal was... okay, it's trying to extort money from the family. This was... Oh, hold on, damn it, stupid. I hate Notepad, how it doesn't auto. Extort money from the family. Let's see, this happened in 1976. I mean, they could have been younger at that point, but...
What do you mean?
Well, they obviously would have been younger.
I was like,
I'm an idiot. 1976, and Ben's death was in 2019. I mean, she could have really been playing the long con. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Women will do that. It's called holding a grudge.
But, yeah.
Or it could be the child. Bum, bum, bum.
Who would the child be, though? Yeah, okay, so the child...
The child.
The child was almost 2.
Yeah, let's do some quick math.
Yeah, quick math. Alright, so 2019 minus 1976 is 43, so it would be like 44 years old.
It's the conservative.
Hold on. And has her mother's luxuriant blonde hair.
Did we crack the code,
Oh,
Ace?
shit.
She's there to be like, oh yes, I'm just here to look at that would be the longest con of all,
Child,
is becoming
right.
someone who takes
Child
care.
would be early 40s and has blonde hair.
I mean, I think that's fair to also put in parentheses conservator ?
Right? Because it said
That's blonde, right?
I'm taking that as blonde.
It's blondish brunette. She's a ditty blonde.
Yeah. And then with the blonde, I'm trying to remember.
Why does he look like a fucking weird ass Matt Damon?
Okay, so that's the family. That's Lorraine Doomstick.
Link, are you going to help solve the case? He like popped up.
I'm really trying to. Oh, okay, here she is, right here. Okay, so, yeah, a few minutes past before, a slim woman in her 40s enters the door. Her blonde hair is pinned up neatly and makeup has been reapplied. So, well, here's another journal entry. August 12th, 2001.
The child has expressed interest in becoming a conservative.
I've lost my patience with John. He told me the day that he has proposed to his Asian woman. What was he thinking? Where is his regard for our family status? The girl is common and fails to address me with the proper respect. She has stubborn and misguided ideas about class and refuses to acknowledge the difference in our status. John tells me Kasumi will complete her medical degree in England. I will ensure that no hospital or private practice in the area accepts to work with her. I've also told John that he would lose his inheritance if he married her. I know this manner is very important to him, and I could see the pain it caused him to hear it. Good. He told me he would marry her sooner or later over my dead body.
Racist! Jesus Christ!
You know what?
He's marrying a doctor!
Yeah, well, I mean, he's white.
He's
white, doctor.
White and 70 years old.
Okay, so... Alright, let's see. Yep. Okay. I mean, really...
It's just the loaded statement of, like, over my dead body.
Right.
And it's, like, got the John in the background going,
Oh, I can marry her now and still get the inheritance.
And it will be over your dead
But
body.
John believes that they were reconciling, so maybe it's like, oh, maybe he came to respect his wife. We can examine the library more thoroughly, which is 214, if you want to keep digging in the library.
It seems very important. It
Okay.
seems like that's the only place that he was allowed in. It just seems very important.
Okay. The library is spotless and perfectly organized. An antique writing desk with locked drawers sits at its center. Along the walls, books are segregated thematically. Clippings and papers are filed, cataloged, and indexed, and periodicals are bound. There are no decorations on the walls or shelves. There is no trash bin. It is hard to be thorough when armed with only a flashlight, but nothing seems out of place. You step back and try to look at the whole room at once, and notice that one of the bookshelves is pushed a little bit closer to the wall than the others. It's very heavy. You need a lot of strength to move it. Together with the butler, you push it aside carefully, trying not to shake off all the valuable tomes. You look behind the bookshelf and find a plastic bag, inside which are a pair of latex gloves, size large, and a bottle with an eyedropper containing a clear liquid. The label reads prussic acid. You know from toxicology reports that this is hydrogen cyanide, which is highly toxic and can be absorbed through the skin. Apparently someone was in too much of a hurry to hide all the evidence. So we know John is strong enough.
Yes, yeah.
And then we need to add 47325. 47325 to the database. Okay, that is... Oh, shit. Cyanide found a plastic bag behind the bookshelf in the library along with a pair of latex gloves size large.
Well, you would assume a man.
Yeah. We can look through the locked writing desk as well.
Yeah, that's probably the key.
Yeah.
Because the library was unlocked.
Okay, so let's see.
While they operate off.
Are you writing any other evidence notes or? Let's
Not
see.
yet, because it's all relating to the family.
Oh, okay. So let's see. Found a bag of hydrogen cyanide, which is highly toxic
And
can be absorbed through the skin behind a heavy bookshelf, which we know that John was described to be the strongest in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's also interesting is that specifically finding something that is highly toxic and can be absorbed through the skin, and also John happens to be very much like not a believer, but did like an interview. Hey, our family legend is poisoned papers, so it would kind of hide anything, like where it's like, oh no, that's a real curse,
Right.
So, okay, so 2.
Or maybe it's just, the family likes to keep the poison fresh. They're like, yeah, no, they are poison. We do it.
Okay, so that is... Alright, yep, so that... Oh, okay, look through the locked writing desk. That's the journals. Never mind. We don't need to do that again.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Why would it have us, like...
Read the first.
Yeah, go through the library, and then tell us to look through the locked writing desk, which is the same thing that we were already able to do.
That's weird. Maybe they just didn't want us to miss it in case it's something that we didn't do initially.
Right. Okay.
Alright.
Well, shit!
Well, so now we should probably read the interview that he gave.
Oh, yeah.
See what he says about it. Because he might just say, it's fucking bullshit. Like, that's not a thing.
Oh, yeah.
This one's fucking interesting.
Right?
I like this.
Everything in the library is meticulously organized, so you have no problem finding the article you're looking for. From this latest issue of Odd Stories and Phenomenons, the interview with John Hampton starts with a full-page photograph of him. Everyone, look at me! Is it true that your family is cursed? John, well, there are family legends about poisoned documents which, over the generations, have caused the death of anyone who dared read them. My great-great-grandfather, great-grandmother, and great-grandmother's cousin fell victim to the poisoned papers. Is it a curse or simply coincidence? There is, of course, a logical explanation for everything in this world, so I would not rule out the possibility that some old documents written with a poisonous ink might lurk in our family archives somewhere.
Okay.
And then has us examine the library more thoroughly, which is where we find the shit.
Okay.
So...
Gotcha.
I mean, he didn't really...
He didn't say yes or no.
Yeah. Interesting.
Vague. Alright, should we talk to Mama? Should we smack that ass of the mom and be like, think your son's a murderer and your husband had an affair before he met you, so he's got a baby.
Well, it's not that yet. How would he have an affair before he met her then?
Well, it's an illicit affair, meaning, it was just something.
Meaning he had a girlfriend before his wife?
Well, he had a baby out of wedlock before his wife.
Which is interesting, yeah, because if he has that, then that he's like...
Which there's a reason that he didn't marry her, and I'm sure it's because she was not of the class.
Yeah, but it's...
Because he was a teenager once, too.
He hates John's wife, and the fact that they got pregnant, but he did the same thing.
Yeah, because his dad also was probably like, you can't marry her. So,
Probably.
It's a generational curse, John will probably break it. He'll probably be like, yes, I am going to marry her, and my kids are not going to grow up this way.
Maybe. But instead, I'm going to murder you instead.
Depends on if he goes to jail for murdering his dad, So.
Right. And then Ronald Timber, that's the journalist. So it sounds like Ben Hampton goes well out of his way to ruin people's lives if they wrong him.
Even mildly so.
Yeah. Okay. So, Beatrice.
Ah.
That's the one you want to talk to?
That's the mom? Because
okay.
the aunt is Angelina.
Yeah. Alright. So, the butler leads you hesitantly to the parlor where the widow is resting. You hope that she will forgive a few probing questions in this difficult moment. Miss Hampton is sitting in a broad leather armchair and is holding a teacup with both unsteady hands. Given the circumstances, she appears surprisingly calm. Ben was so looking forward to this evening, she says softly when you sit in the other chair. He loved his little tradition. Last week at my birthday celebration, he was telling us about the readings he had prepared. He was very excited, though John, Angelina, and I were stifling yawns the entire time, she chuckles. To be honest, no one but him really cared about the irrelevant documents in the archives, but it kept him busy, and it was nice to see him so passionate about a project. Beatrice can barely hold the cup in her weak hands. Someone must have had a hand in Ben's death. He was perfectly healthy. I just can't believe that he could just die like that. It's a pity that John's fiancée, Kasumi, wasn't here this evening. She is lost in thought for a moment. He really should have been happy for them. Instead, he was planning to meet someone next week who could help him find incriminating information about her to convince John to abandon his plans to marry her. I told him it was absurd. After all, they are expecting a baby. Perhaps he was just teasing them. I just can't believe that he would be capable of destroying his son's happiness in this way.
Ma'am, your husband's a monster.
Has anything happened recently that you would consider suspicious, you ask? Unfortunately, I've been spending more time with doctors than at home recently. There's one thing that bothers me. Miss Doomstick, the conservator. One would think that she would be more interested in the manor than in our family history. She asked Ben probing questions about his youth and pestered him to let her access his private library. I'm certain she would turn it inside out if anyone let her in. She sighs and stares into the flames of the fireplace. You can sense that she is growing uncomfortable with this interview. So yeah, that has to be the daughter. The illegitimate daughter.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
So we can ask about Ben's past, or ask about John's fiancée.
Yeah, let's ask about his past. Let's just do it. Let's get it on.
Get on in there.
Kill yourself.
Kill yourself.
Alright. I've often said that Ben was a perfect husband, but it must be understood that he was not always so, especially in the beginning of our marriage. Beatrice closes her eyes and then is silent for a moment, lost in her old memories. Ben, she starts, Ben had several affairs.
Oh, so we did have affairs.
Okay, yeah. He was something, I guess 1976, that would put her at 40. That'd probably put them at 30, if they're like 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
So.
They're young whippersnappers.
Yep. He was something of a ladies' man. There was even a time when I had cause to be jealous of my own sister. I was indifferent to his infidelity at first. I persuaded myself that it was nothing serious, but it eventually became unbearable, and I threatened to leave him. He felt genuine remorse, I think, and changed his ways. He had been a perfect husband ever since. I was ready to put it all behind us, but Ben struggled with the consequences of his indiscretions for a long time. I forgave him everything, but one of his former lovers, who had worked for a time as our maid, harassed him for several months. She claimed that he was destroying her life. I now know that she was probably right, but I couldn't bring myself to see it then. Beatrice leans over and lowers her voice. It pains me even to think about it, but I suspect that Lorraine Doomstick might have had some dealings with one of these women. I've overheard some of her conversations with Ben. She had an unseemly curiosity about his youth, the early days of our marriage, and our former employees. She persisted even when Ben showed clear reluctance to engage on those topics. I find it suspicious that the start of her visit preceded Ben's death by only 2 days. She gives you a signified look and leans back into the armchair, breathing heavily. The weight of the conversation is clearly overwhelming the ailing woman. The butler takes her teacup and suggests that it may be time for her to take a rest. Nope, we're still talking!
So she's definitely the kid.
Yeah.
But is she the murderer?
Right.
That's the real question.
I don't think so. I think John is the murderer, and I think the conservator is just happened to be there.
Right. She's probably she. I mean, I don't know though. Like with her, 2 days before the death, it could also spin in the way of like her trying to cause the death because maybe she was before.
Yeah.
The death, trying to get like, hey, I get some of this money too. You were my dad. Like you're my.
But she wouldn't get anything. There's no way.
She probably would have tried to convince him.
But she never talked. She only seemed interested about the history of the family.
To prove it.
I guess, but like, maybe. If she was able to get proof, then yeah. But even if it's in his will, she wouldn't get it. The will just.
Or the mom also said that she had reason to believe that she could be jealous of her sister. So like maybe the sister was angry that Ben chose Beatrice instead of her. And she's like, well, you know, you could have had my juicy ass. I don't have heart failure.
My old ass. My sweet wet ass.
My sweet wet ass pussy. Back when you could grab a mucket and a bop. Whoops, miracles. That's my dementia kicking in.
Okay.
I know, right? This one's a good one. We should probably talk to
Angelina.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I need to make some notes.
make some notes.
Okay, so Beatrice knows about Ben's multiple affairs in their early marriage, but says that Ben changed his ways after she threatened to leave him. Which is interesting because it sounds like what Ben does is be a racist piece of shit, but also, like, goes out of his way to destroy people's lives. So, like, whenever he found out about the ex-employee, then he's just like, boom, you know, you're out. Mm-hmm. And then trying to dig into his own son's wife.
Yeah, trying to find dirt on her.
Yeah, to just basically fuck her over. And also he tries to screw her over by making sure she doesn't get a job.
Yeah.
And it's like, good, I'm glad this guy's dead. What a piece of shit. Let's see. Okay.
Not gonna be a big funeral party.
No, this is gonna be this old ass family. Okay. Let's see. Ben has tried multiple times to destroy the life of others, especially John's wife, Kasumi. Whatever her name was. I think that was it. Or fiance. Whatever. I'm leaving it as wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. But the thing is oh no, we can't talk to Angelina Comet. Okay. So that is 216.
She's like, I'm so popular, I had a board game named after me.
Right. Okay. Angelina Comet looks frail and distraught. Her eyes are swollen from crying. You ask her to speak with you privately in the parlor. Poor Ben. He was so looking forward to this evening. He had spent the last few days talking with the conservator from the Heritage Trust about the history of this estate and his family. Poor woman. He wouldn't let her in the library despite all her attempts. She smiles ruefully, staring at the rain striking the window. John's the only person he ever allowed to enter the library, where he kept all those precious historical papers, and then only under his supervision. Oh, Ben, to think that the poison ink struck him down as well. He was no saint, but he was so close to restoring his good reputation. Restore, you ask? There was an incident a few years back. Ben was devastated with the way the press treated him. He wanted nothing more than to restore his good name. Can you elaborate? Please don't ask me to speak ill of my brother-in-law, she snaps. Minutes after his death, no less. Besides, it was much ado about nothing, the typical tabloid exaggerations. I sometimes pity poor Ronald Timber, of course, but you have to admit that he was asking for it. Ronald? The journalist who started this whole mess in the papers. Ben ensured that his career was ended. The memories are clearly troubling Angelina. Her hands shake when she raises a tissue to her nose. I understand this is hard, you say. I'm certain that this must be very difficult for your sister. Beatrice? Oh, I'm certain Beatrice is doing just fine. Why is that? Angelina covers her mouth, perhaps thinking that she has said too much. God, forgive me what I'm about to say. She takes a deep breath. Beatrice and Ben had an exemplary marriage, inseparable. They took tea together every morning on their bedroom balcony, every day for 40 years. Beatrice prepared it herself. They walked on the estate, talked for hours. It was all very romantic. John was the same way. He would do anything for Kasumi, his fiancée. Ben was devastated when he learned about Beatrice's health problems. They knew they did not have much time left. He didn't know what he would do without her. I do not mean to suggest anything, but, she lowers her voice dramatically, Beatrice was anxious about Ben becoming a widower. She was always a very jealous woman. The thought of him being with someone else about her death troubled her greatly. I think she'll sleep much better knowing that Ben is now beyond temptation of infidelity. She shifts uneasily in the armchair, then stands up suddenly. She pulls a purse from the seat, which she had failed to notice in the dark. I believe this belongs to Mrs. Doomstick. She must have forgotten it here. Okay. Ooh. So Angelina. You think Angelina was insinuating that Beatrice killed him?
Yeah, she was definitely trying to be like, well, you know, yeah, even though he's old and definitely has to take the little blue pill.
To really scramble my insides.
To really scramble, because really get in there. Yeah, I think she kind of threw her sister under the bus. She's a shit starter, that's for sure.
Yeah, she is.
That is for sure. She's that fucking family member.
Mm-hmm. The one that no one really likes to keep around. Out of jealousy that her husband might find someone else after her death. Alright. So we can search Miss Doomstick's purse.
Yeah.
We're just like, oh, thanks. Just like, tampons? How scandalous.
She kind of like hands it and she's like, what's the word? Take the picky?
What did I know? What did I lick? What did I eat? You'll never know.
That was a crayon.
Alright, so we're going to look through Miss Doomstick's purse, and we can also ask about the poisoned documents.
Yeah, let's look through her purse first.
Alright.
I'm just really interested.
We're just nosy. Okay, 206. Alright. As soon as you were out of sight of the other people in the manor, you go through Lorraine Doomstick's purse. You find a wallet, tissues, scattered cosmetics, and car keys. The Nissan logo on the key indicates that the old Nissan you saw parked in the garage is probably hers, and not the polished Rolls Royce which Ben Hampton reserves for his exclusive use. Making sure that you are alone, you go for her Nissan and look inside. The floral air freshener scent is overwhelming. You see a woman's coat thrown carelessly on the back seat, several empty, stacked disposable CDs, stacked disposable gas station coffee cups, and several David Bowie CDs. You open the glove compartment, finding the car's registration, more CDs, and a pistol. Alright. So, we got SM. So that's going to be 47327. 47327. Assuming it's just a pistol. Gun found in Lorraine Doomstick's car. That doesn't really mean anything. She didn't shoot him.
Right.
So we can also ask about the poisoned documents, but we are on the recap step now. So basically, to recap, Ben Hampton died. He even announced... But he even announced, hey, I guess they truly are cursed. And everyone was in shock, except there was someone who didn't really, care. It just seemed kind of John didn't really react. Was it John? I think
he just didn't have a visceral reaction.
Yeah. Let's see.
Which, I mean, I know they're not thinking too far into this, but it's guys don't really have that kind of reaction.
Sure. So, we interviewed the security guard. We didn't see anything.
Correct. Because he was fucking sleeping.
Yeah, basically all the staff just kind of mentioned that people keep trying to get up into the
places they're not supposed to.
Yeah, upstairs to the bedroom and to the thing. Which also we also haven't investigated the master bedroom.
Oh, this is true. Yeah, I want to see what those pictures are.
But they all seem to know that the conservator is very intrigued about the house. But we know that she keeps asking Ben about family history, trying to figure out, who he is.
Trying to get in
and
the
our assumption is that she's the illegitimate daughter. That he was like, hey, I don't want anything to do with the wife or the mother. Then we talked to John. John about he seems to have the most grudge against his father. That he threatened his inheritance, and then he might have known all about Ben's attempts to ruin his family or his wife's reputation and things like that.
Maybe, yeah, because I mean,
so John has the biggest motive.
Yeah,
that losing his inheritance, and Ben is trying to prevent her from, he's digging up dirt on her, and also that.
He wants the money and he doesn't want his wife to be ruined.
Yep. And it kind of sounds like Ben and John are kind of, two in the same. That it's like, hey, if you're going to go out of your way to dig this up, I'm just going to kill you.
Maybe.
And with that being said, we know Angelina might have a play in it because she noticed that John, her husband died, and she is poor, and she's staying, in the house. But it's like so that then she was going to get the inheritance.
So far, it doesn't sound like she was going to get the inheritance unless John married the fiance, because then the dad was like, "Oh, no, you don't get it. Angelina will."
And she assumed that it was in the will, but John said he hasn't even taken me out yet. It could have just been a threat,
right?
But she was like worried that if John and Ben get reconcile, then she's definitely not getting the money. Yeah. But right now she gets to live there for free anyway.
Or she can just be a scorned lover.
Yeah, and then we have the wife Beatrice, who was just renowned for her jealousy.
Yeah.
But says that she forgave her husband.
I wonder how long it takes to die from it soaking in through your hands, cyanide.
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, so that brings us to the next thing: is we read the journals and find out that Ben's just a big piece of shit. But we also found in the library behind one of the heavy bookshelves, latex gloves that are large and cyanide that can be absorbed through the skin.
We've established that.
I mean, it could also. I know the game is probably not going to do it, but usually it's always one person. But it sounds like there could easily be more people involved.
Right.
So
yeah, that crossed my mind, because it seems like two people have really good, interesting narratives.
Right. So that's the recap.
Yeah. And we did not talk to Ronald, and we did not talk to the actor.
To Sam. Yeah. Yeah, Ronald's the journalist, and Sam is the actor.
We may want to holler at him just to kind of...
We have essentially 5 things left that we can do, so which is good, because it's not like, oh, we have 5 things. This takes 7 hours. So, okay, I guess we get to only do one thing. So, what do we want to do? Do we master bedroom first? Maybe we'll find some sweet, juicy shit in there.
Yeah, I do want to see what's going on in the master bedroom.
Okay. At first glance, the master bedroom seems very ordinary. The paintings on the walls are less interesting than Miss Doomstick led you to believe. A flash of lightning calls your attention to the window, where you notice a large shape concealed by the heavy velvet curtains. Pulling them aside, you find an ornate tea tray on wheels. The porcelain tea set sits on a golden tray. The teapot is empty, as are both cups. One has a lily on valley design, while the other portrays hunting dogs and their prey. A closer look at the cup reveals that the one with the dogs has a thin layer of white powder coating the interior. You look through the drawers on the bedside tables. One of them contains peppermints, a history book, and reading glasses. In the other, between cardiac medication, a sleep mask, and several face creams, you find a small, very old bottle labeled as arsenic.
What the fuck? Because that's what I brought up, the cyanide thing. I was like, oh, I wonder how long it takes. Because now I'm like, what if she just poisoned him? What she's been giving him tea every morning, she makes it. But I think...
Arsenic found in a drawer in Hampton's bedroom in a teacup where a layer of powder had been prepared.
I don't know. Maybe he likes to put cocaine in his tea. We don't know.
Arsenic is poison, right?
Yes.
Fuck.
Which I believe is in... I don't know.
Hold on.
Arsenic used to be in makeup.
Oh, wait a minute. Hampton pours... No, he drank wine.
Yeah, but they have tea every morning.
But that'd kill him immediately.
That's why arsenic? Is it immediate?
I'm sure it is. But here's what's also interesting, rereading this. He touches the title page, entranced by the occasion. Deed of ownership from the year. He licks his finger and turns the page. So he didn't absorb it. He could have, but he touched the title page and then licked his finger.
Doesn't help that he licked it.
And then that's when the poison took in.
Maybe it wasn't supposed to kill him right then.
Yep.
Oh. But why is...
Here's the other weird thing.
Why is she
Conservator, whatever, Lorraine Doomstick, a woman in her 40s, makes a sound just short of a gasp, seeing such careless handling of a historic artifact. So, I wonder if, her gasp was not because of the historic artifact, but the fact that she could be in on it. But the game's
great, my dad's dying. Fantastic.
Because we never read we never go back to the introduction or story of of cases. Like we usually just assume that's like, oh, the thematic entrant or prologue into the actual game.
Right.
But this might actually give us some info.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Lorraine Doomstick has a gun in her car. Okay, I don't think that matters.
She's just a savvy, streetwise woman.
Yeah, I'm very much keen on the gloves and shit, and then putting it on the paper. Okay, so we did everything for those. We didn't ask about Angela's husband. Maybe he died from poisoning.
Sure, yeah. Well, why would she do that?
Oh, you're right.
If she's just gonna be a poor widow. I mean, we can still ask about him.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. You're right. Let's see.
Maybe he was supposed to have a lot of money. Maybe Ben fucking ruined him.
Maybe, probably. Yeah, that would be weird. Because it just said he died. Yeah, let's see. Many years ago, after a bit too much brandy, he told me when he died. I know. Her husband died recently, leaving her alone and penniless. Not that she was sad he died, mind you. She lived with us since then. So, I don't know. I don't know about the dad or the husband thing.
Right.
Yeah, so the only thing left would be, to talk to, I think Ronald Timber might have some info.
Yeah,
maybe.
We'll see why he was why he had instructions to cut brakes and shit like that.
Yeah. 202.
He's like, oh, I just like to know things. Just something I was curious about.
The gardener brings Ronald Timber into the empty dining room. The young journalist is soaked with rainwater and shivering. You ask the butler to prepare tea and find him some blankets, then give Ronald a few minutes to warm up. He seems more frustrated than subdued and none too eager to talk. Real quick, I'm going to look up something.
Thematically, you can't. There's no cell service.
Arsenic is a chemical element with the symbol A. Okay, arsenic occurs in... Okay, well, arsenic is used as a doping agent in semiconductors for solid-state devices. It is also used in bronzing, pyrotechnics for arsenic compound. Okay. Arsenic poisoning is a medical condition that occurs due to elevated levels of arsenic in the body. If arsenic poisoning occurs over a brief... Okay. Let's see. Arsenic.
So she could have been slowly poisoning him this whole time. I mean, that could just be something different, like totally unrelated to his death tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, the poison of kings. And the savior of syphilis. Arsenic is a substance that has been well known to both the healer and the poisoner throughout history. Huh.
They used it for a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it has a lot of properties.
Kind of like how lead was used in a lot of stuff before.
Yeah.
Like, we should quit. Like, we should just quit.
Unless he was poisoning her.
Or maybe she was like, I'll take arsenic to get better, see?
Maybe.
That's what my doctor told me back in the 1920s.
Yeah. Alright, so... then give Ronald a few minutes to warm up. He seems more frustrated than subdued and none too eager to talk. Can you explain to me what this was doing in your... What?
Oh, because they said that it can be a healer. So she might have been taking it.
Yeah, and it said it was an old bottle.
Yeah, so that might have been something weird they were doing.
Yeah.
Health-wise. Sorry, I think that's a red herring for sure.
Can you explain to me what this was doing in your bag? You ask, putting the instructions for cutting the brake lines of an automobile on the table. Have you decided to become a mechanic rather than a second-rate journalist?
Oh, Jesus, we're like ripping into him.
With a fucking... Never mind. Ronald grits his teeth but stays silent. Not too talkative for a journalist, you say. Is there nothing you want to tell me? Why is it that the staff know your name? They know me because one of them sold me a few of Hampton's journals 4 years ago. Thanks to them, I was able to publish an expose on that hateful coffin dodger. That was a turning point in my career. Not the one I'd had in mind, unfortunately. Hampton ruined my life. He had me blacklisted, made sure no one would hire me. He nearly had me jailed. That old bastard should have ended up there himself. He sighs and wraps himself up in the blanket more tightly. I didn't kill him. I know that's what you think, but it isn't true. I know who could have done it, though. He pulls his digital camera out of his bag, searches through the stored photos, and hands it to you. You see a photo of Sam Collins, the actor whom you met earlier. The photo was shot from a far distance away, but you can clearly see Collins standing in a window of the manor. The date of the display shows 7/10/2019. Which window is this, you ask? In the attic, on the side of the building facing the garden. Why do you think Sam would want to kill Ben Hampton? The man is a publicity hound. He wants nothing more than fame, but I believe that he's desperate enough to accept notoriety. Who knows, maybe an idiot like him would even murder someone simply to appear in the news. Perhaps he simply wants to play detective. You raise your eyebrows. What? Ronald snaps. You prefer to believe cock and bull stories about poisoned ink and deadly documents? What stories? Some old Hampton family... Oh, God. Yeah, it's nonsense, but if you want to waste your time, read John's stupid... Yep, we already did that. Mm-hmm. The Hamptons were obsessed with archiving every text which mentions them, so they must have a dozen copies somewhere in the library. You'd best hurry before Collins calls a full-blown press conference in the foyer. Oh, hey, we get it. Well, that's him.
Oh,
Not what I expected.
I expected someone very gross-looking.
I know, right? Like some sleazy journalist.
You're right.
So, hey, we can examine the attic.
Hey, let's get up there.
Sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You see... Oh, hey, it's right here. Mm-hmm. The stairs leading to the attic creak menacingly at every step. The butler treads before you, holding a candle which casts grotesque shadows on the walls. You fully expect a ghost to jump out at you. You finally reach the top of the staircase. The butler slowly opens the squeaky door, revealing a spacious attic filled with old furniture and household items hidden under white dust sheets. Everything is covered with a thin layer of dust, which makes the many shoe prints on the floor highly visible. After a short examination, you conclude that they must belong to a single person, probably a man. You follow them carefully, try not to bump into anything. The tracks lead you to a small window. Its shape resembles the one you saw in the photograph taken by Ronald Timber. The dust on the floor below the window is entirely absent, as if someone had lain here. From beneath what appears to be a coffee table sticks out a long item wrapped in a blanket. You carefully unwrap it, revealing an antique shotgun. You have no idea why someone would think that this thing is safe to use, but it seems Ronald Timber was right.
Was he gonna shoot someone from the window?
7, 3, 2, 8. Add and match. Okay. That doesn't help. So the antique... do you have anything written about the antique gun?
Just that it was stolen.
When...
We talked to Mr. Platt about it.
Mr. Platt?
He's the butler.
Oh, okay. Nope, that's that. Okay. Trespassing in the manor. He introduced himself as someone who had been hired to repair some of the wooden beams in the attic. The estate is historic property and we sometimes get overzealous visitors. Yeah, okay, so... Yeah. Let's see. It was very private. The only guests were the young Mr. Hampton and Miss Kemen. I recall at one point that evening the fire alarm was raised. Miss Hampton panicked because while everyone else in the family had evacuated the manor, Mr. Hampton was still in the library absorbed in his reading. We nearly had to force him out in the end. So it was the dog. Yeah, that was about the thing. There was someone trespassing on the manor. He introduced himself as someone who had been hired to repair some wooden beams in the attic, but it sounds like they didn't let him.
That's how I heard it in my head, too, yeah.
And then there was someone, wanting to mow the lawn. So, there's that. And then this one was about, let's see. Mr. John is frequently there. The conservator that arrived the day before last was there, claiming she wanted to see the entire house. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of talking about the layout of the house. Oh, boy. Okay. That is the sisters fighting. This one is... Yeah, that's whenever the Sam Collins showed up. Boy, I just don't know.
Right?
Because... What does the shotgun being in the attic have anything to do with anything?
I know. It's like... Did he want it for some reason? Like... Was he gonna...
I guess we can talk. I guess we can talk to Sam Collins.
That's though. Yeah, might as well because we're probably gonna.
That's 2:15. When you ask Sam Collins for a private chat, a gleam enters his eye. "Please follow me," he tells you, and walks towards a small parlor at the end of the corridor. He looks around dramatically before slamming the door behind you. "First of all," he begins without much ado, "the murderer is in this building." You look at him with confusion. Who precisely is the investigator here? He blunders on. "Let's go over the final hours of the dead man's life. He woke up before 8 a.m. At breakfast. He read a letter which he quickly crumpled and hid in the pocket of his jacket before his wife noticed it. He ate a fried egg, a back bacon, fried tomatoes, baked beans, and 2 slices of buttered toast." "Sam," you begin. "Followed by 4 peppermint candies," he continues, ignoring you. "He went for a short walk in the garden where he played with his dog." You wondered how he would know all this. "He walked for quite a while with Lorraine Doomstick, the conservator. Then, while having lunch with his wife and sister-in-law, he joked repeatedly about the family legend about poisoned documents. He said that his son, John, took this nonsense far too seriously. He added that a far more serious type of nonsense was John's relationship with Kasumi. He said that someone of John's status should really only pursue relationships with women of a higher class. John became furious. I did mention that he was there as well, didn't I? And yelled that he would marry her regardless, and that he no longer cared about losing his inheritance." Ben laughed. There was no love lost between these two. Sam pauses and arches his eyebrows, evidently expecting you to start applauding or to throw yourself at his feet. "Are you finished?" you ask, frowning. "Don't you see?" he says in a theatrical whisper. Ben was trying to rid himself of John, but John got him first. A flash of lightning illuminates his smug face, and I have the evidence to prove it.
Do you?
So we can search for the letter in Jam's pocket or look at Sam's evidence.
I would like to know the interesting letter.
Right? So I think we got 2 things left. So, yeah, alright, let's do this. Let's do the letter. Ben's body lies on the soft Persian rug near the fireplace under a silk coverlet. Oh, let's move that. The chief inspector would probably bite your head off if he saw you going through the dead man's pockets before forensics had a look at him, but perhaps he'll forgive you given the unusual circumstances. The fabric of Ben's elegated jacket smells of heavy cologne, tobacco, and wet dog. You put on latex gloves and look through his pockets. Find a handkerchief, a pair of glasses, and an empty pocket of dog treats and a scrap of paper. On the paper is a note written in a woman's neat hand. "I ask you to meet me one final time in the garden just before midnight." So we can examine the garden. I don't know.
Should we look in the garden?
We have one last thing that we can do.
Yeah, let's go.
You want to go to the garden, or do you want to look at Sam's evidence? If according to not the butler, the journalist, he says that Sam is like a basically, what do they call it? Method actor.
Yeah.
So maybe he really got into the...
I mean, my thing is it's going to be very 50-50. It's going to be black or white. He's either going to have absolutely nothing and it's going to be stupid, or he's going to have something that it's like, what the fuck, Sam?
Right. I don't know. I don't know.
Do you want to flip a coin?
I don't have a coin.
We'll throw a link. See what side he lands on.
Yeah, and unfortunately this isn't double-sided. So...
Here, take one of the tokens. It has a 1 or a 2 on it. If you're not listening, take one of the tokens. It has a 1 or a 2 on it. 1 can be the garden, 2 can be the Sam.
Okay, the evidence.
Yeah, so 2 is the evidence, 1 is the garden.
Alright, this is our last one. Left or right? What was 1's garden, 2 is evidence?
Yes.
Okay. It's 2.
Okay. Let's go talk to Sammy.
2-12.
It's gonna be like...
Okay.
The butler did it.
I found this in the rubbish bin, Sam says proudly as he shows you a crumpled piece of paper. It appears to be the seating arrangement for tonight's dinner. Ben clearly wanted to move John to the seat under the chandelier, and Kasumi was crossed out so that everyone would think that she had been uninvited, and therefore no one would expect her to arrive in costume with a stolen shotgun to shoot the chandelier, causing it to fall on John's head, and preventing the revelation of her secret affair with Ben. What? However, she was John's fiancée, and you raised your hand to stop him. How did you know that an antique shotgun had been stolen? That is, Sam stutters, blushing, because I saw that it was missing. He tries to regain his composure, flashing what he hopes is an innocent smile. You take the note out of his hand. So, I do not want her at my dinner table. How many times must I ask that she not be included on the guest list? So switch with someone else and Kasumi. You quickly notice that on the reverse of the seating arrangement there is a second note. It looks like a hastily draft of a speech. Fortunately, I must present when the murder must, I must say, immodest though it may be, that it was I, Detective Everleigh, charming laugh, that it is I, Sam Collins, who plays the role of Daniel Everleigh on the Rebel Detective series, who solved this mystery, killed, and shot Ben Hampton with a shotgun as he was strolling through the garden. The detective inspector... Sam, what are these notes, you ask? The moment he realizes what you are reading, he takes the paper back. What? How? Now, you see, I'm preparing for a role. He seems both embarrassed and outraged. It's clear to me that you don't know what you're on about. Delusional, if you ask me. He is about to say something more than when he crumples the paper, stuffs it in his pocket, and hurriedly leaves the room. So he basically planted.
Who is he?
I think he's just an actor.
I feel like escort
All
this
right,
man out.
so that was that. Final report.
Sam, what are
Who
these
murdered
names?
Ben Hampton?
Alright, who do we think it was? I'm pretty sure we think it was...
So we got Beatrice Hampton, Sam Collins, John Hampton, Lorraine Doomstick, Ronald Timber, and Angelina Kemet.
Do we think it was...
I think it was John.
John? Yeah, my gut tells me it's the conservator, but my gut's often wrong with these games.
I just think out of all these people with the arsenic, or not the arsenic, the absorbing thing.
Yeah, let's just go with John, because really...
Because who else here would know about the paper? And he died after he touched the paper.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, they are cursed. And John's the only one that knows about the curse.
Or takes it seriously, anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
we'll probably fuck it up. Oh, there's only one question. We got it.
Hey! Oh, that makes me sad. I didn't want it to be him.
We got 6 out of 6 points.
Okay.
I expected there to be more questions.
Why? It was obvious why. I need closure on the conservator.
Oh, hold on. So, the instructions for cutting the brake line, that was found by less than 1% of players. The cyanide was found... Maybe just people aren't playing this, because everything's like... As you probably deduced for yourself, the poison documents were not the only threat facing Ben Hampton. Nearly every guest had a good reason to help him exit this world. Let's start with Ronald Timber, who was a promising young journalist a few years ago. He made a name for himself as a shrewd investigative journalist, but his career was cut short after he wrote a slanderous article about Ben Hampton. Hampton pulled some strings and ensured that no self-respecting newspaper in the country would hire him. The frustrated journalist decided to take revenge by cutting the brake lines of Hampton's prized Rolls-Royce. His plan was foiled by the Hampton's gardener, who intercepted him while patrolling the grounds of the estate. Lorraine Doomstick had a difficult life. Her mother had to work hard to provide for her. Lorraine knew little about her father, only that her mother had said he was a monster and not worth her time. Many years after her mother's death, Lorraine stumbled across the article written by Ronald Timber. She discovered that her father was none other than Ben Hampton, who had abandoned his lover and illegitimate daughter. Lorraine and mother struggled financially while he lived in luxury. Driven by vengeance, Lorraine posed as a conservator with the Heritage Trust to gain access to Hampton. She planned to gain his trust and then kill him using the pistol hidden in her car.
Okay, so she was going to. Okay.
I think everyone was going to.
Right, it was just who got there first.
Right. Angelina Kemet spent most of her life in a stable but unhappy marriage with Arthur Kemet. As a young woman, she competed with her sister for Ben Hampton's attention. Oh, you were right. but lost. Many years later, her husband's death left her destitute and envious of the comfortable life her sister enjoyed. Embittered by years of privation, she planned to convince Ben to meet her in the arbor at midnight. There she would use a dagger to pierce the heart that a lifetime ago dared choose her sister over her.
Man.
Despite the rocky beginning, Ben and Beatrice's marriage was by all accounts wonderful. Their happiness was cut short by Beatrice's sudden illness. Knowing that she had no more than a few months to live, Miss Hampton reflected that her husband would never be and could never be allowed to be happy as a widower, and decided to help him depart the world before her. She sprinkled arsenic in the teacup he used every morning as they sat on the balcony. It was a ritual they had performed for 40 years, in which they would perform one final time. But why would she continuously... Anyway.
What, poisoning?
Well, yeah, it wasn't killing him.
It takes a while.
Does it?
In little doses, yeah. I mean, like, any you like, it'll just make you a little sick.
So he was pooping along. Yeah. Sam Collins' acting career was not where he thought it should be. The director of The Rebellious Detective was pleased with his performance, but neither the critics nor the viewers agreed, and the series was certain to be canceled. Oh, no. He decided to stage a mystery that he would then solve. The ensuing press coverage would be certain to revive interest in the show and in his career. Unfortunately, Sam was an inept a director as he was an actor. Reading an interesting article in Odd Stories and Phenomenons, he put his poorly conceived plan into action. He gained access to the Hampton Manor attic by posing as a carpenter hired to fix some roof beams. There he had an antique shotgun he had found in the parlor. After deciding that poison was less likely to generate headlines than shotguns, he tried to determine when Ben typically frequented the garden, in hopes of firing on him from the attic window. He returned later to talk with Ben about using the manor as a setting in The Rebellious Detective. He turned him down, and hid in a cupboard when guests started arriving.
Ah, okay. I was wondering, I was like, how did he get there?
Yeah. And then, John Hampton had been butting heads with his father for years. The main point of contention was John's relationship with Kasumi, whom Ben considered to have too low a social standing. John endured his father's barbs for years in order to retain the right to his inheritance. When he discovered that he would soon be a father himself, he decided that he had had enough. He could no longer wait for Ben's approval. On his mother's birthday, he triggered a fire alarm to lure everyone out of the house, particularly his father, who was in the library. John then ran back into the house under the pretense of rescuing the dog and snuck into the library. He knew which documents his father planned to read in the upcoming yearly event, so he poisoned them and hid the evidence behind tall books on a shelf. He planned to pin the blame on his Aunt Angelina if the family legend about poison papers failed to convince the authorities. Yeah, we got it. Okay. Fuck you, John. So that was Blood, Ink, and Tears. I hope you enjoyed. We just have one more case to do for the Season 1 Detective Modern Crime board game. I hope you're enjoying. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.